The massive form of the UEF Thunder cut through the darkness of space, its hull gleaming under the light of distant stars. Captain James Anderson stood at the bridge's main viewport, his weathered hands clasped behind his back as he studied the scene before him. Something wasn't right about the trading route to Haven Colony, and his 30 years of space service had taught him to trust his instincts. "Captain, long-range sensors are picking up multiple signatures ahead," called out Bill from his sensor station. The young officer's voice carried a note of concern that made Anderson turn away from the viewport. "They're in a blockade formation around Haven Colony, sir." Anderson moved to the central command chair, his boots making soft sounds against the polished deck. "Show me," he ordered, and a holographic display sprang to life in front of him. The sight made his jaw clench. 15 warships arranged in a precise pattern around the colony world, their positions clearly meant to prevent any ships from reaching or leaving the planet. "Those aren't trade ships," muttered Anderson. "Tom, what are we looking at?" Lieutenant Tom Wilson, the weapons officer, worked his console quickly. "Stellar Dominion warships, heavy cruiser class. They're running hot. Weapons and shields at full power." He paused, checking another reading. "Sir, they're stopping all civilian traffic. I count 3 merchant ships being held at gunpoint." The bridge crew fell silent. The Stellar Dominion was known throughout the galaxy as a species that believed in their absolute superiority. They had never encountered humanity in combat before. Earth had only recently developed faster-than-light travel, and this was the Thunder's first deep space patrol mission. "Getting a transmission from the lead Dominion ship," announced Lisa, the communications officer. Her fingers danced across her console. "They're ordering us to leave the sector immediately. They say this is their space now." Anderson's eyes narrowed. Haven Colony was a neutral world, home to 5 different species who lived and traded together peacefully. The Dominion had no right to blockade it. As he watched, a small transport ship tried to break away from the planet, desperate to escape. The Dominion's response was immediate and brutal. Green energy beams lashed out from the nearest cruiser, slicing through the transport's engines. The smaller ship spun helplessly, emergency beacons flashing as its crew fought for survival. "Life signs on that transport?" Anderson demanded. 233, sir," Bill replied, his voice tight. "Mostly civilians. Families." Anderson stood up, his decision made. The Thunder might be alone, but he couldn't watch innocent people die. "Sound general quarters. All hands to battle stations." Klaxons blared throughout the ship as crew members raced to their posts. The Thunder's massive engines hummed with power as weapon systems came online and shields raised to full strength. "Sir, the Dominion fleet is hailing us again," Lisa reported. "Their commander says. He says that Earth is young and ignorant, and we should leave before we learn a harsh lesson about galactic politics." A small smile crossed Anderson's face. "Send them our response. This is Captain James Anderson of the UEF Thunder. You are conducting an illegal blockade of a neutral world and have fired upon civilian vessels. In the name of Earth and basic human decency, I order you to stand down." The bridge crew straightened in their seats, pride evident in their postures. They might be outnumbered, but they weren't about to let bullies terrorize innocent people. The Dominion's response came quickly, a barrage of energy weapons fire that streaked through space toward the Thunder. But Anderson had expected this. "Evasive pattern Delta," he ordered calmly. "Tom, target their lead ship's weapons array. Let's show them how humans fight." The Thunder moved with surprising grace for a ship its size, sliding between the incoming fire like a dancer. The Dominion commander's surprise was almost palpable. Their targeting computers hadn't predicted such maneuverability from a ship of this class. "Sir," called out Bill, excitement in his voice, "I'm picking up power spikes from Haven Colony. They're orbital defense platforms. They're powering up. They're joining the fight." Anderson nodded grimly. Sometimes all people needed was for someone to take the first stand. "Send word to the colony that we appreciate their support." He turned to his crew, determination in his eyes. "Let's show the galaxy what one human warship can do. Battle plan, Charlie 7. Give them hell." The Thunder's main guns roared to life, and the real battle began. Humanity's first major space combat had just started, and the Stellar Dominion was about to learn a very important lesson about underestimating Earth's finest. The Thunder shuddered as another blast from the Dominion fleet struck its shields. Lieutenant Tom Wilson gripped his weapons console tightly, his mind racing through calculations faster than the ship's computer. He had studied space combat theory at the Academy. But this was different. This was real. "Shields holding at 60%, called out Mary from engineering. Her voice crackled through the comm system. "But we can't take too many more hits like that, Captain." Captain Anderson nodded, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. The Dominion ships had arranged themselves in a perfect attack formation. Perfect by their standards. But Tom saw something they didn't. Something that reminded him of the old videos he'd watched of Earth's naval battles. "Captain," Tom spoke up, his fingers already plotting a course. "The planet's rings. We could use them." Anderson turned to him, eyebrow raised. "Explain." "The ice and rock in the rings will mess with their targeting systems. But more than that." Tom's eyes lit up as he explained his plan. "If we time it right, we can use the ring's gravity to slingshot around at speeds their computers won't expect. They'll be shooting where we were, not where we'll be." The bridge fell silent. It was crazy. Dangerous. The kind of maneuver that could tear a ship apart. But Tom had done the math. The Thunder's reinforced hull could handle it. Anderson studied the tactical display for a long moment. 3 more refugee ships were trying to break through the blockade, and the Dominion fleet was turning its attention to them. They were running out of time. "Do it," Anderson ordered. "Mary, divert all spare power to the structural integrity field. Bill, I want constant updates on those ring particles. If there's anything bigger than a house in our path, I need to know." The Thunder's engines roared to life as Tom input the course. The massive warship turned, accelerating toward the planet's glittering rings. On the Dominion ship's screens, it must have looked like suicide. "They're taking the bait," Bill reported from his sensor station. 6 of their ships are breaking formation to pursue us. They think we're running." Tom allowed himself a small smile. The Dominion's tactical eye was good at conventional space combat, but it had never faced human unpredictability. It couldn't compute the insanity of what they were about to do. The Thunder plunged into the rings, ice and rock pinging off its shields. The pursuing Dominion ships held back, unwilling to risk their hulls in the debris field. That was their first mistake. "All hands, brace for high-G maneuver," Anderson announced shipwide. "Tom, you have control." Tom's fingers flew across his console. The Thunder's engines screamed as they pushed against the ring's gravity field. Warning lights flashed across every station as the ship's hull creaked under the strain. "Hull stress at maximum tolerable levels," Mary warned. "We're redlining everything." But Tom had calculated it perfectly. The Thunder curved around the planet's rings like a bullet in a spiral barrel. Ice and rock became streaks of light outside the viewports as they accelerated to speeds that made the Dominion targeting computers freeze in confusion. And then they emerged, behind and below the Dominion fleet. "Weapons hot," Anderson commanded. "Show them why you don't corner a human ship." The Thunder's main guns opened up, catching 2 Dominion ships completely by surprise. At this range, their shields couldn't respond fast enough. Explosions bloomed in space as precise hits disabled their engines and weapons. Haven Colony's defense platforms are engaging the enemy. Lisa shouted from communications. "They're targeting the Dominion ships nearest to the refugee transports." The Dominion fleet's perfect formation had broken. Their ships scattered, trying to deal with threats from above and below. Their tactical AI struggled to compute responses to attacks that, by their calculations, should have been impossible. "Message from the Dominion flagship," Lisa reported, a note of satisfaction in her voice. "They're demanding to know how we did that. They say it violated all known laws of space combat." Anderson stood from his command chair, watching as the Thunder's unexpected maneuver threw the entire blockade into chaos. Send them our reply. That's the thing about humans. We don't believe in unbreakable laws. Tom, plot us another attack run. Let's show them what else we can do. The Thunder banked hard, its hull still groaning from the previous maneuver, but ready for more. The real lesson was just beginning. Human ingenuity was about to rewrite the rules of space warfare. Deep in the Thunder's engineering section, Chief Engineer Mary Roberts worked furiously at her control station. Sweat dripped down her face as warning lights flashed all around her. The ship's experimental gravity drive was never meant to handle the stress they were putting it through, but desperate times called for desperate measures. We need more power to the forward shields. Tom's voice crackled through the comm system. Above them, the battle raged on. 3 Dominion cruisers are moving to cut us off. Mary glanced at the drive's readings. They were already pushing way beyond safety limits. Then her eyes fell on an old photograph taped to her console, her grandfather's submarine from Earth's old naval forces. It gave her an idea. "Captain," she called out, "I can give you something better than more shield power. I can make us disappear." There was a pause on the bridge. "Explain," Anderson replied, his voice steady despite the chaos of battle. "The gravity drive doesn't just help us move, it bends space around us. If I reverse the polarity and sync it with our shield harmonics." Mary's fingers flew across her console as she spoke. "We can create a bubble of warped space. Their sensors won't know what to make of us." "Do it," Anderson ordered. "All hands, prepare for gravitational distortion." Mary took a deep breath and initiated her makeshift cloaking system. The Thunder's lights flickered as power redirected to the gravity drive. The entire ship groaned like a beast in pain. "Gravity bubble stable," she reported, watching the readings carefully. "But we can only maintain this for 10 minutes before the drive burns out." On the bridge, the crew watched in amazement as the Dominion ships suddenly lost track of them. Their precise formation turned sluggish and confused as their sensors failed to locate their target. "It's working," Bill exclaimed from his sensor station. "Their targeting systems are completely blind. They can see us visually, but their computers can't get a weapons lock." Anderson didn't waste the opportunity. "Helm, bring us in close. Tom, prepare for point-blank engagement. Let's make these 10 minutes count." The Thunder slipped between the Dominion ships like a ghost. Without their computer targeting, the alien vessels were forced to rely on visual tracking alone, something their crews had never trained for. Their shots went wide, missing the human warship by kilometers. Multiple hits on target. Tom called out as the Thunder's guns blazed. At this range, they couldn't miss. One Dominion cruiser's engines went dark. Another's weapons array exploded in a brilliant flash. Mary watched her readouts intently, making constant adjustments to keep the gravity bubble stable. The drive was getting hotter by the second. Warning indicators screamed for attention, but she pushed them back, channeling power from non-essential systems. "Engineering, status report." Anderson's voice cut through her concentration. "5 minutes left, Captain," she responded, watching as another warning light joined the chorus. "After that, we'll need an hour to cool down the drive, or it'll melt. That's all we need. Tom, target their command and control systems. Bill, plot me a course through their formation. We're going to gut their fleet from the inside out." The Thunder turned gracefully, its weapons finding weak points in the Dominion ship's armor that their designers never thought to reinforce. The alien vessels, accustomed to fighting at long range with computer assistance, had no defense against an enemy that could strike from within their own formation. 3 minutes, Mary warned, diverting coolant from life support to keep the drive functioning. The engine room was getting uncomfortably hot, but her crew worked on without complaint. The Thunder's guns spoke again and again. Each shot counted, each hit carefully placed. The Dominion fleet's perfect formation had become their perfect trap, their ships now too close together to maneuver without risking collision. 1 minute. Mary shouted as the drive began to vibrate ominously. Steam hissed from overworked cooling pipes. "All hands, brace for emergency maneuver," Anderson commanded. "Helm, get us clear of their formation." "Mary, shut it down the moment we're out." The thunder burst from the midst of the Dominion fleet, leaving chaos in its wake. As the gravity bubble collapsed, Mary watched the drive's temperature readings slowly begin to drop. Behind them, the Dominion ships were scattered, their formation broken, their confidence shattered. "Drive is safe," she reported, allowing herself a small smile. "It'll need repairs, but we showed them something they've never seen before." "That we did," Anderson replied. "That we did." "Status report on the enemy fleet." Tom's voice carried a note of pride. 6 ships disabled, 3 more with heavy damage. The rest are falling back to regroup." He paused. "Sir, I don't think their combat manuals covered anything like what we just did." "Then it's time to write them a new chapter," Anderson said. "One about why you should never underestimate human creativity." Lord Admiral Rex stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Eternal Glory, his 4-fingered hands clenched in fury. The tactical display before him showed something that should have been impossible. Half his fleet was either disabled or heavily damaged, and all because of a single human warship. "My Lord Admiral," his second-in-command spoke hesitantly, "our combat computers are having difficulty predicting their next move. Their maneuvers, they don't follow any known combat doctrine." Rex slammed his fist on the command console. The Stellar Dominion had ruled space for 300 years. Their tactical computers had proven perfect in every battle. Until now. "Status of the Thunder," he demanded. "They've withdrawn to the outer edge of our sensor range. Their power readings are fluctuating. They may have damaged themselves with that last impossible maneuver." The tactical officer paused. "But my lord, the Haven Colony defense platforms are now fully active. They're coordinating with the human ship." Outside the viewport, Rex watched as his remaining ships tried to maintain their blockade formation. But with half their number disabled or retreating, gaps were beginning to appear. Already, 2 merchant ships had slipped through, escaping towards Haven Colony's protective umbrella. "Send the following message to all ships," Rex ordered. "Converge on the human vessel. Overwhelming force. I want that ship destroyed." But even as he gave the order, the Thunder was moving again. This time, it was diving straight toward Haven Colony's atmosphere. Another maneuver that defied all military logic. Ships of that size weren't meant to enter atmosphere. The friction alone should tear it apart. "My lord," his sensor officer called out in alarm. They're using the planet's magnetic field to mask their signature. Our targeting systems can't get a lock." Rex watched in growing horror as his ships fired blindly, their shots dispersing harmlessly in the upper atmosphere. The Thunder had effectively vanished from their sensors, yet somehow maintained perfect control in conditions that should have destroyed it. "Impossible," he muttered. "Check the database. What do we know about Earth's military history?" His intelligence officer worked quickly, then looked up with concern. "My lord, humans, they fought wars in every environment on their home world. Deserts, oceans, air, mountains. Their combat techniques draw from thousands of years of warfare in all conditions. And we gave them space to adapt to," Rex realized, finally understanding. While the Dominion had perfected space combat through computers and precise formations, humans had learned to fight anywhere, anyhow, with whatever they had. A bright flash from below made him turn back to the viewport. The Thunder had emerged from the atmosphere behind one of his cruisers, its guns blazing with deadly accuracy. The cruiser's engines died, its power grid overloaded by shots placed with surgical precision. "My Lord Admiral," his communication officer interrupted, "we're receiving transmissions from the surface. The Planetary Council is demanding we withdraw immediately. They're requesting permanent human military presence in their system." Rex felt his command slipping away. Centuries of Dominion influence in this sector, undone in a single battle by one human ship that refused to follow the rules of warfare. "New contact," the sensor officer shouted. "The Thunder is accelerating toward our position. They're using debris from our disabled ships as cover." On the tactical display, Rex watched as the human warship darted between the hulks of his own vessels. His remaining ships couldn't fire without risking hitting their own disabled crew. It was a level of tactical thinking that no simulation had ever suggested. "All ships, fall back to rally point Beta," Rex ordered, his voice heavy with defeat. "We can't fight what we can't predict." As the remains of his once proud fleet began to withdraw, Rex studied the image of the Thunder on his screen. The human ship bore scars from the battle, but it still moved with deadly grace, protecting the very refugee ships he had tried to stop. "Send a final message to Earth Command," he commanded. "Tell them," he paused, choosing his words carefully, "tell them that the Stellar Dominion formally recognizes humanity as a major military power. And warn them that we greatly underestimated their capabilities." The Thunder's silhouette grew smaller as the eternal glory retreated, but Rex knew this was just the beginning. Humanity had announced its presence in the galaxy not with words, but with actions. The age of easy Dominion victories was over. The Thunder drifted in Haven Colony's upper atmosphere, its hull glowing cherry red from the heat of re-entry. In the ship's tactical center, Tom worked with steady hands despite the turbulence, adjusting the targeting systems for atmospheric combat. Captain Anderson had given him 5 minutes to prepare for their most daring move yet. Hull temperature approaching critical levels. Mary's voice came through the comm. The heat shields were meant for re-entry, not sustained atmospheric operations. "Understood," Anderson replied from the bridge. "But we need this to work. The Dominion fleet is regrouping, and they'll be back with reinforcements. We end this now." Bill's sensors painted a clear picture of the situation above them. The remaining Dominion ships had formed a new battle line, trying to trap the Thunder between their guns and the planet's gravity. They didn't realize they were playing right into Anderson's plan. "Ready for Operation Deep Strike," Tom announced, his fingers hovering over the weapons controls. The idea had come from old videos of Earth's submarine warfare, hiding in the depths, striking from below. Only this time, the ocean was a planet's atmosphere, and their target was hanging in space above them. "All hands, prepare for extreme vertical maneuver," Anderson's voice echoed through the ship. "Mary, give us everything the engines have got. Tom, you'll have a 3-second window to take your shots. Make them count." The Thunder's massive engines hummed to life, building power for what would either be their master stroke or their last mistake. The ship's old submarine warfare programming, thought useless in space combat, had been modified for this exact moment. "Enemy ships holding position," Bill reported. "They're trying to get a sensor lock through the atmospheric interference. Their targeting computers are still confused by our heat signature mixing with the upper atmosphere." Anderson took a deep breath. "Begin Operation Deep Strike. Take us up, full power." The Thunder's engines roared, pushing against Haven's gravity with everything they had. The ship shot upward like a missile, climbing through layers of atmosphere at speeds that made the hull scream in protest. Warning lights flashed across every console as systems redlined. "Hull integrity at 60%, Mary shouted over the comm. 50%. We're bleeding hull plates." But they had timed it perfectly. The Thunder burst through the upper atmosphere like a whale breaching the ocean's surface, emerging directly beneath the Dominion battle line. The enemy ships, their sensors still struggling with atmospheric interference, didn't register the threat until it was too late. "Fire everything," Anderson commanded. Tom's fingers danced across his console. The Thunder's main guns opened up, each shot placed with surgical precision. At point-blank range, even the Dominion's advanced shields couldn't react fast enough. Energy beams sliced through engine nacelles and weapons arrays. Precision shots disabled bridge sections and power cores. "Direct hits on all targets," Tom reported, excitement clear in his voice. Their formation is breaking. The Thunder continued its ascent, passing through the middle of the enemy fleet like a sword through paper. Ships scattered in every direction, their perfect formation dissolving into chaos. Some tried to return fire, but their shots went wide, their targeting computers still unable to compensate for the Thunder's impossible maneuver. Engineering reports critical system failure in 2 minutes, Mary warned. We need to level out. Anderson nodded. Helm, bring us about. Let them see what they're running from. The Thunder's engines flared one last time, bringing the ship level as it emerged above the broken Dominion fleet. Its hull glowed like a demon rising from the depths, atmospheric friction having turned its battle-gray armor into a nightmare of red-hot metal. From the enemy's perspective, it must have looked like something from their darkest dreams, a warship that had turned the very laws of physics into weapons, emerging from a planet's atmosphere wreathed in fire. Message from the Dominion flagship, Lisa reported, unable to keep the pride from her voice. They're requesting permission to retreat. They say they've never seen combat tactics like this in their 300 years of space warfare. Anderson allowed himself a small smile. Grant them permission, and send a message to Haven Colony. Their space is clear. The blockade is broken. The Thunder hung in space, its hull slowly cooling as the remaining Dominion ships fled. Below them, Haven Colony's citizens were already celebrating their liberation. And somewhere out there, word was spreading through the galaxy. Humanity had arrived, and they fought like nothing the stars had ever seen before. The repair crews worked tirelessly in the Thunder's outer hull, their magnetic boots keeping them anchored as they patched battle damage. Inside the ship's main conference room, Captain Anderson sat with his senior officers, reviewing data from their recent battle. The room's holographic display showed detailed recordings of their unconventional tactics. Engineering reports the gravity drive will need 2 days for full repairs, Mary said, dark circles under her eyes showing her exhaustion. But I have to admit, Captain, I never thought it could perform like that. We wrote new rules for space combat today. Tom nodded in agreement, replaying the footage of their atmospheric assault. The Dominion's tactical computers are probably still trying to make sense of what we did. They never expected anyone to use a planet's atmosphere as a weapon. A gentle chime interrupted their discussion. Captain, Lisa's voice came through the comm. Haven Colony's council is requesting permission to dock. They want to thank us in person. Anderson straightened his uniform. Grant them clearance. Bill, what's the status of the Dominion fleet? Still retreating, sir, Bill reported from his tablet. But our long-range sensors show more ships gathering at their nearest base. They're calling in reinforcements from 3 sectors. Before Anderson could respond, the conference room door slid open. 3 representatives from Haven Colony entered. A tall, willowy being with silvery skin, a shorter, robust creature with scale-like armor, and a floating orb of pure energy contained in a technological shell. The diversity of Haven's population was one of the reasons the Thunder had fought so hard to protect it. Captain Anderson. The silvery being spoke, its voice melodious. I am First Speaker Ray. We have watched space combat for centuries, but never have we seen anything like what your ship accomplished today. The Dominion believed their technological superiority made them invincible, the scaled being added, clicking its mandibles thoughtfully. You prove that creativity and courage matter more than computing power. The energy being pulsed with colors that the ship's translator interpreted as excitement. We have already sent records of this battle to every neutral world in the sector. They need to see that the Dominion can be beaten, that their perfect tactics can be overcome. Anderson shared a look with his officers. They hadn't just won a battle. They had shattered the myth of Dominion invincibility. We were just doing our duty, he said simply. Earth doesn't tolerate bullies, no matter how advanced their technology might be. That is why we have a request. First Speaker Ray said, placing a data crystal on the conference table. Haven Colony wishes to formally apply for Earth protection and partnership. We offer our shipyards, our resources, and our full cooperation in exchange for human military presence in our system. The energy being pulsed again. The Dominion will return. They cannot allow this defeat to go unchallenged. But next time, we want to fight alongside you. Anderson picked up the data crystal, considering its implications. The Thunder's actions had changed the balance of power in this sector of space. Other worlds would be watching, wondering if they too could break free from Dominion influence. "I'll send this to Earth Command immediately," he said. "But until their response arrives, the Thunder will remain here to protect Haven Colony. We don't abandon our friends." The scaled being's armor rattled in what the translator identified as approval. "Already, our engineers are studying the records of your battle tactics. The way you used gravity fields, planetary bodies, and atmospheric conditions as weapons. It changes everything we thought we knew about space warfare. The Dominion relies too heavily on their combat computers," Tom explained. "They forgot that the best weapon is the mind that wields it. Humans never stopped learning how to fight in new ways, how to adapt to any situation." First Speaker Ray's silver skin rippled with emotion. "Then teach us. Help us learn to fight as you do. The galaxy is changing, Captain Anderson, and humanity's arrival may be exactly what we needed to break the Dominion's hold on the stars." As if to emphasize the point, a distant flash lit up the viewport. Haven's shipyards coming back to life after years of forced inactivity. The colony was wasting no time preparing for the future. Anderson watched the activity with quiet satisfaction. The Thunder had arrived in this system as a single ship on patrol. They would leave it having sparked a revolution in space combat, and possibly in galactic politics. Not bad for one day's work. 1 week after the battle, the Thunder stood guard over Haven Colony, its battle scars now worn like badges of honor. The ship's crew had worked around the clock to repair the damage, and Mary's engineering team had even managed to improve the gravity drive's performance based on data from their unconventional maneuvers. Captain Anderson stood in his ready room, watching as yet another diplomatic vessel arrived through the system's jump point. This one carried representatives from 3 other worlds that had lived under Dominion influence. News of the battle had spread faster than anyone expected. "Captain, to the bridge," Lisa's voice called over the comm. "Priority message from Earth Command." Anderson found his senior officers already gathered on the bridge, their faces showing a mix of exhaustion and pride. The main screen lit up with the image of Fleet Admiral White, her expression serious, but with a hint of satisfaction in her eyes. "Captain Anderson," she began, "I've just finished reviewing your full report. I have to say, when we sent the Thunder on its first deep space patrol, we didn't expect you to rewrite the book on space combat." "Neither did we, Admiral," Anderson replied honestly. "We just did what humans do best, adapt and overcome." The Admiral nodded. "The Dominion has formally protested your actions, claiming you violated established combat protocols. However, they've also quietly requested access to Earth's historical military records, particularly our naval warfare databases." Tom couldn't help but grin at that. Their use of submarine tactics had clearly made an impression. "But that's not why I'm calling," the Admiral continued. "The Haven Colony situation has sparked something bigger than we anticipated. 17 independent worlds have already requested Earth protection. They're calling it the Thunder Protocol, the right to defend themselves using human military doctrine." The bridge crew shared proud looks. Their single battle had given hope to worlds that had lived in fear of the Dominion's technological superiority. "Your new orders," the Admiral said, "are to remain at Haven Colony and establish it as Earth's first deep space military training facility. Those shipyards aren't just going to repair ships anymore. They're going to build them. And you're going to teach them how to fight like humans." "Admiral," Anderson replied, "the Dominion won't take this lying down. They'll be back, probably with a fleet big enough to overwhelm even our unconventional tactics. We know. That's why 3 more Earth ships are already en route to your position. The Thunder won't stand alone next time." The Admiral's expression softened slightly. What you did out there, it wasn't just about winning a battle. You showed the galaxy that superior technology doesn't guarantee victory. Sometimes, all it takes is the courage to try the impossible." As if to emphasize her point, the viewport showed a Haven colony defense platform executing a practice maneuver. The same kind of atmospheric dive the Thunder had used to break the blockade. They were quick learners. "One more thing," the Admiral added. "Lord Admiral Rex, the commander you faced, he's requested a personal meeting. Says he wants to understand how a single human ship could outmaneuver his entire fleet. The diplomatic corps thinks this could be the start of a real dialogue with the Dominion." Bill's sensor console beeped, drawing their attention. "Speaking of learning," he said, "Haven's engineers have already modified their planetary defense shields based on our battle data. They're using the gravity fluctuations we discovered to create a whole new kind of defense grid." Anderson looked around at his crew. Mary with her innovative engineering solutions, Tom with his creative battle tactics, Bill with his precise sensor work, and Lisa who had kept them all connected through the chaos. They had done more than win a battle. They had shown the galaxy a new way to fight, to defend, to survive. "Tell the Admiral we accept the new assignment," Anderson said. "And send word to Haven's Council. Earth stands with them, not just as protectors, but as teachers and allies." Outside, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter. The Thunder had arrived in this system as an unknown vessel from a young spacefaring race. It would remain as a symbol of hope, a reminder that sometimes the greatest victories come not from overwhelming force, but from the simple human traits of courage, creativity, and the unwavering determination to stand up for what's right. The galaxy was changing, and humanity, led by ships like the Thunder and crews like Anderson's, would help shape that change, one impossible victory at a time.